Hello, good morning and welcome to the AM News with me, Mapisa Sibiri. Now, in our first story, residents of Kenyase Edumam in the Kwabre East District of Ashanti Region on Tuesday blocked the main Kenyase Edumam road to protest its deplorable state. The protest disrupted traffic on the stretch as the protesters mounted barriers and burnt car tires, leaving commuters stranded. Attempts by the police to control the protests were fiercely resisted. Prince Apia reports.
There was heated argument between the police and the protesting residents. The police tried to disperse the demonstrators and remove the barricade, but the angry protesters resisted the move. It took the intervention of the police reinforcement to calm the situation. Some angry protesters spoke to JoyNews.
I was born in 1954. I have never seen our road tarred. They always deceive us to vote for them.
I
am an NPP chairperson. I am an asthmatic patient. I always buy medicine. And I expected the president to fix my road. I have stayed here for 60 years, but I have never seen any tarred road in this community. They always start and never finish.
This roadblock is not intentional. We just want our road fixed.
Stone chips meant for the construction are left on the road. The residents want the road fixed as promised by the government prior to the 2020 election. According to the unit committee chairman Yawinsia, the contractor left the site after the election.
The drivers complain about the stones on this road. They can easily cause an accident. The contractor says he's not been paid, and that is why he has left the site.
Reporting for JoyNews, Nana Awuku Denchambo.
Away from that, consumption of spoiled tomatoes is on the increase with more patronage by some commercial food operators in Ghana. Spoiled tomatoes have been found to have higher nutritional values and healthy plant-based chemicals than fresh tomatoes, but are highly contaminated with harmful microbes, thus not safe for consumption. That is the conclusion of a study by the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Now, Kwesi Deborah has more in this report.
Me toy is coming out when I 5.5. I can't damage one. Me toy I need to create a year. I mean, I'm more be 20 city cross one pay. 20 city. When it was Papa ne boating, when soon therefore, but in a just only about me told me beside I'm the coffee.
Consumption of tomatoes provides health benefits. However, they are highly perishable due to their nature, post-harvest handling, and germ infestation. The study was undertaken to determine the nutritional and chemical compositions of tomatoes. The researchers also sought to determine the levels of germs in these tomatoes. Professor Faustina Dufie-Rekumenu
Because when you go to our market, we have a lot of tomato spoilage, unwholesome tomato that are being sold, and especially when you go to where they mill vegetables like ginger, like the tomatoes and the spices, you see a lot of unwholesome tomato being milled especially for commercial food preparation. So we thought it wise to look into what is inside there. Is it safe for us in the first place? And as I said, there have been reports that a lot of people are consuming this, especially in the lean season, and even in the bumper season, because it is very cheap. So the commercial people go in for it. It's not every commercial, most of the street foods.
For the study, fresh tomatoes were obtained from Bola Market in Kenyase in the Ashanti region of Ghana. 6 spoiled tomatoes were randomly purchased and analyzed. The researchers found all the spoiled tomatoes had considerably high level of crude fiber, high potassium, and high folic acid as compared to the fresh tomatoes, except for moisture and vitamin C. The researchers attribute the situation to ripening, chlorophyll breakdown, and increased carotenoid synthesis during spoilage.
The high nutrient, it is because, as you know, tomato is categorized as a climateric fruit. It keeps on ripening after plugging it from its source. So, and these phytochemicals and bioactive compounds are usually synthesized as a result of ripening. As ripening goes on, they are synthesized. And you know, spoiled tomatoes usually stays on the shelf for a longer period. So it's being attributed to the advanced ripening in the tomatoes that is causing the increase in.
The researchers, however, warn spoiled tomatoes are highly contaminated with microbes.
But then, as I said, it is not safe because of the microbial load. So what we recommend for consumers is that you shouldn't eat spoiled tomatoes, irrespective of how cheap it is. You know, we should not consume them. We should go in for fresh tomatoes. And then if anything at all, because tomato, as I said, is very perishable. Right from the receiving of tomatoes, we should just sort out. And then the broken, the bruised, the mechanically injured ones should be sorted out, and quickly maybe we apply heat. Either we convert them to tomato paste or tomato paste. Very easy to do.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Away from that, the Ghana National Association of Teachers is asking President Akufo-Addo to, as a matter of urgency, establish a commission that will look at the salary levels of all workers in the country. GNAT President Philippa Larson says the current system of remuneration for public sector workers is unfair and should be looked at. Madam Larson made the call at the 6th Quadrennial Delegates Conference of the Upper West branch of GNAT.
In a brief speech to open up the 6th Quadrennial Delegates Conference of the Upper West Regions branch of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, GNAT, National President of the Association, Philippa Larson, did not mince words on the uneven remuneration doled out to workers in the public sector, describing it as unfair.
The ongoing discussions on the various social media platforms indicates clearly that workers are understandably unhappy with the outcome of the negotiations for 2021 and 2022. Is that not true? I am not happy either. No union leader is happy. The current system of remuneration in the public sector is not fair. It favors some categories of office holders in the public service.
Philippa Larson, whose speech was punctuated with a shout of 4% from some of the delegates, showing their displeasure on the recently announced base pay increment for public sector workers, which she took part in the negotiation, called on the president to, as a matter of agency, initiate a process to establish a commission of experts to look into the salary levels of all workers in the country.
We are calling on His Excellency the President to, as a matter of urgency, governments initiate a process to establish a commission of experts to look at the salary levels of all workers in Ghana. We are all Ghanaian workers. We all go to the same market. I do not understand why somebody will be giving 4% and somebody will be giving 79%. We have made our call. We will see what happens in the days ahead.
Speaking on the theme of the conference, GNAT at 90, surviving as a relevant and reliable teacher union in the 21st century, threat of national policies to trade unionism, senior lecturer at the Simon Diedon Dombo University of Business and Integrated Development Studies, Dr. Domasus Turoson, observed that there is no love lost between any government and any labor union, using history to back his observation.
No government wants a formidable labor union that will stand up to its rights. Governments prefer feeble unions, which are malleable, manipulatable to state control. Therefore, governments resort to all manner of tricks in order to weaken unions.
Dr. Domasus Turoson urged members of GNAT to, among other things, zealously guide against their political independence in order for the association to achieve its set objectives.
Zealously guard and assert your political independence. As for the name calling and tagging, it will happen. But remain as independent as you possibly can and build a solid financial muscle that you are doing. Fantastic investments. It's amazing. I wonder how you do it. Once you become financially solid on the ground, no one can come and dangle peanuts before you and try to buy you over.
The original executives were elected at the end of the conference to steer the affairs of the association for the next 4 years. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
Meanwhile, GNAT has warned its members will strike if government fails to resolve its outstanding issues. Nicholas Taylor, who's in charge of administration at GNAT, outlined the withdrawal of responsibility allowances, promotional examination challenges, among others, as issues the association wants government to address. There's more in this report.
The Volta Regional Chairman of GNAT, David Carter, expressed dissatisfaction at the recent 4% and 7% salary increment for teachers and entreated the Trades Union Congress to renegotiate with the government.
Irrespective of the rather indefensible reasons and excuses being assigned for arriving at those humiliating percentages, we wish to call on the TUC-led tripartite committee, which has the mandate to negotiate on behalf of public sector workers, to go back to the negotiation table and do the right things before things get out of hand. The facts on the ground do not support the reasons being adduced for arriving at the poultry 4 and 7% for the periods in reference. One is at a loss to reason why it is possible to increase salaries for certain categories of public sector workers by as much as 79%, while turning around to assign reasons why some conditions precedent would not make it possible for any significant increments for other categories of public sector workers.
The in charge of administration at the GNAT headquarters, Nicholas Taylor, explained that the top hierarchy of the association is seeking government to address issues beyond the 4% and 7% increment. He outlined the withdrawal of responsibility allowance for some teachers, promotional examination challenges, delay in provision of incentive for teachers in rural communities as some of the issues to be addressed.
With these issues raised and other pressing issues worrying teachers, if the Ghana Education Service is not able to do anything about these issues I have enumerated plus others, then we are giving the government, this one is a press conference that has been held already. I'm only re-echoing it. By end of September, if government decides not to do anything about it, then teacher unions and teachers cannot continue to restrain our members. And any action that comes, nobody should blame the teacher unions for those actions.
The Vice-Chancellor of the Whole Technical University, Professor Ben Kwashi Hunyanuga, entreated stakeholders to ensure teachers have better working conditions.
All key decision makers in the world, with the mandate to positively influence and enhance our welfare and fortune, were trained and lectured by teachers. But as soon as they get there, they forget about the teachers. This calls for some introspection on all fronts because a deeper understanding of the critical role of the Ghanaian teacher in the socio-economic and developmental issues of the nation ought to trigger quicker actions in addressing their concern.
Away from that, the Paramount Chief of Central Kofi Traditional Area, Nana Lechabi II, is worried about the delay inaugurating the Guan district. He argues this is affecting development in the area. Correspondent Peter Senu's report.
The Paramount Chief for the Central Kofi Traditional Area, Nana Lechabi II, says he and his subjects are not happy about the manner in which government is handling the creation of the district for the area. The area, since 2019, after the region has been inaugurated, has been without an administrative district, for which assembly members elect since have been without an assembly. First, we bring you some views from residents.
The government has not done anything to create the Guan district for us. I was the chairman of the Joint Consultative Committee. We attended many meetings and we even voted to choose a district capital. That one also, we couldn't choose it. And fortunately enough, the government chose a district capital for us, which is Likpe Mati. And up to now, the district has not yet been inaugurated. And for that matter, we don't have an MP, we don't have a district chief executive, we don't have an assembly. So we are highly disappointed. I, in particular, am highly disappointed with the government. You know, every district go with development. As we don't have a district, we don't have an MP, we don't have anything. It is having a lot of adverse effect on us. No development is going on here. And if you have a case, you don't know where to send it because you don't have a district chief executive to whom you can address your issues. So we don't have duty bearers in this area. That's why I say we are highly disappointed.
How soon do you want government to take a step or react to your...
Even if they come today, we like it.
The Guan district, the no-inauguration of the assemblyman is affecting us a lot because there's no place where we as the assemblyman we can move to and make any demand for the community. So anything at all, the only thing we have to do is either we ourselves, the Youth Development Association, of which I am even the chairman, we have to organize money and do whatever we want to do, our water that is not flowing, what not. This has to come from our personal pockets. The first step of this government, there was no development here. Because they were promising that when they create the Oti region and then the Guan district, they will come on to our aid. Everything will be okay. Later, this never happened. Now, we are there. We've entered the second term. The first year has already even come to this midterm with it, and then nothing.
And that's how we end the AM News. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Mapito CBD.
All right, good morning to you once again, and thank you once again for allowing us into your homes. It's time for the news review, and I'm here with Enima.
Of course, you are. So super excited about the newspapers this morning. We've seen some things that are very, very interesting.
Yes, and we'll bring them to you in a bit. Okay, I think I'll start.
Yes, definitely.
So we start with the Daily Graphic. And on the front page, appointment of MMDCs, AMA, KMA races in photo finish. And then review base pay calculation. TUC urges tripartite committee, Sputnik V vaccine middleman to refund $2.4 million. And they talk, once they mentioned the middleman here, Sheikh Al Maktoum. And yesterday I was having a conversation with Murtala Mohammed on the AM show, AM Talk. And he kept on referring to him as Guru Boy.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a middleman, but...
wow, I didn't see that coming. I was out, so I didn't hear.
Can't call him.
Wow,
Hey,
wow.
It's way beyond Goro Boy. Look.
Wow.
Billionaire
Goro Boy.
But let's get into... Oh, and then Justice Mafusao passes away.
Yeah,
the story broke yesterday. Yeah. May his soul rest in peace. Okay, so let's get into the stories. And but there's this other story. Bagbo proposes new political party. The ex-president of Côte d'Ivoire, he wants to form a new political party. Now we move on. Foreign teams join Greece to battle fires. And then CDC urges travelers to avoid France and Israel because of COVID-19. And I'm like, okay, Israel is one country that has vaccinated virtually everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
And so why Israel will end up on the US's list of countries that people should avoid travel to, find that interesting.
Interesting, yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. And gender, on the gender page 13, beware of uploading nude pictures on social media. Minister advises women.
Yep.
I'm reiterating this simply because this is still happening.
Yeah.
And people, you know, it's not just the women, even though it has to do mainly with the women. They're uploading all these nudes. Once you upload a nude, you never know where it's going to end up.
And the internet never forgets.
Yes.
So
my issue is, don't even take the photo in the first place, because you may take the photo, you're thinking that I'm keeping it on my phone, or I'm sending it to my boyfriend. But yes, he's your boyfriend for now, but may not be your boyfriend forever. Apart from that, yes, he's your boyfriend. But that photo on your boyfriend's phone may end up somewhere else with someone not your boyfriend. So please be mindful of these nude photos.
Of course, this goes both ways as well.
Yeah, but I'm saying mainly it tends to be, you know, so if you take a man, if you take his nude photo, well, doesn't sell as much.
You'd be surprised, but okay.
And often, if you, no, all you need to do, you take a woman topless, and that's crazy. If you take a man topless.
Yeah, I get the argument,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, both sexes actually, so just avoid these. Then review base pay calculation. I'll get into that story, better into that story. So the Trade Union Congress has said the time has come for the tripartite committee, which determines the base pay of public sector workers, to review the variables used in arriving at salary increases. The TUC said over the years, the major determinant had been inflation, but there was the need to bring in other variables, such as the real cost of living, because the previous method did not work to the benefit of employees. It explained that inflation was just a representation of cost of living, but not the actual, hence the need to use the living cost. Says he was speaking at an economic forum on the 2021 mid-year budget. The director of the Labour Policy and Research Institute of the TUC, Dr. Kwabna Nyakuotu, said the union was working to bring in other variables such as the real cost of living. And this is coming up because the TUC worked something out with the government to increase, you know, salaries by a certain percentage this year and then next year. But the people are not, the workers, public sector workers, are not excited by it.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of pressure. We're hearing from various labor unions that they are going to embark, they're threatening a strike. And this is of concern. So the TUC is coming under a lot of fire, and I would want to understand why they're asking for the review of the base pay calculation. But another thing I feel that we should be looking at is the Article 71 office holders and the people who are high up there, who are earning so much, and then they're getting so much more.
Yeah.
In addition to whatever they're
earning.
And then you look at those who are down, it's like we have a, you know, top-heavy situation.
Very
where
top-heavy, yeah.
Up there, well, if you take one Article 71 office holder salary, it could pay several workers.
It's like Bassa and PSG, Messi and PSG, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should take another look at it. I mean, because these agitations will continue for as long as we have people, you know, looking at the article 71 office holders and they're like, you give them virtually everything.
Everything, yeah.
Okay. All right. So something we should be looking at. And middleman to refund $2.4 million, which is a story we covered heavily here on JoyNews. And next story I'd like to bring to attention, road crashes claim 295 lives in the Ashanti region. That's the MTTD. So please, we keep talking about road crashes and the need to arrive alive and drive safely, but we seem to be still having these unfortunate deaths. So please. And then President commissions $16 million tomato processing factory at Domfeta. It's in the center spread of the Daily Graphic, and you know my issue with the center spread.
Yes.
Yeah. So it still hasn't been fixed. I didn't expect that it will be fixed overnight. But yeah, my uncle Sam Odote and other librarians, I'm sure, would want that to happen for them. I think it would take a while for them to change the template.
Of course.
It is doable. And then, so let me tell you a bit more about this tomato factory. It says it's a $16 million tomato processing factory at Domfeta in the Brekum West District in the Bono region. The Wedi Africa Tomato Processing Factory, constructed under the government's flagship program, One District, One Factory initiative, is a wholly owned Ghanaian company. It has the capacity to process 40,000 tons of fresh tomatoes a year into tomato concentrate and tomato mix, which translates into 720 crates of fresh tomatoes per shift per day. That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I'm excited about this because anything at all that we can do to have produce or stuff that we typically would have to import, I'm very excited about it.
It's very good, yeah. Especially after the documentary, the report that we saw in the 6 a.m. news about how perishable tomato is.
Yes.
The fact that if it's made into these kind of products, then we have more tomato products that are not going to waste. And obviously when, you know, supply is high, prices will not be too bad, because tomatoes sometimes just tend to cost a little bit too much. And when it gets scarce and we're having to bring some in from Burkina Faso and all of that. So pretty good stuff. Once again, I mean, we're great at starting projects. We're amazing at starting projects, but, you know, maintenance culture, sustainability, you know, our customer service, the ethics of the workers, you know. But anyway, you know, this pineapple juice, what's an ekonfi?
Yeah.
Ekonfi seems to be, you know, still...
That is the issue I'm coming to, actually.
Oh, okay, all right.
So we have ekonfi. Started so well. I mean, people love the ekonfi juice.
Ekonfi pan, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
But it's become scarce.
I don't understand it.
Yes. Because people want the product, and yet you can't get the product to buy.
Doesn't make sense.
It's becoming some precious mineral.
Because juice is a big thing, and it was pretty affordable. You know, little size packs, and so you can give it to the kids to take to school, and it's better over these fizzy drinks. And it actually tasted good. It's pineapple and ginger. You know, good stuff. But now you can't find it. I never really saw it in the major supermarkets. I don't know what kind of, you know, advertising or what went into it, but it is a really good product.
Yes,
so
and we should have as much of it as possible on the market so that we don't need to import all these
juices
that are coming in.
So this is exciting, but you know, it's like I don't know, it's not.
Yeah. Okay. So also in the center spread, SNIT GRA SEC board inaugurated. So we have boards for all of this. And then on page 26, Lighthouse Chapel mounts defense against former pastors. It's very interesting reading, and I would wish you would just make time and get into the story. But I'll read you just a bit of it. The Lighthouse Chapel International Ghana has mounted a defense against 6 former pastors who have, among other things, sued the church over Social Security and National Insurance Trust contributions. LCI contends that it operates an extensive lay system, a system that allows individuals to serve as volunteers while maintaining their secular engagements as workers or students. In other words, if we hire you as a volunteer pastor, you don't expect
you
us
don't expect to get
be
paid.
paid. And then let's move to this. So they say this aspect about volunteer pastors. It says for pastors, Faith McCarvey mentions a number of the pastors. LCI noted that the plaintiffs were volunteer pastors, and hence it owed them no salaries and SNIT contributions. Allegations by Pastor Fiakojo, a number of them, that they used their own monies to build LCI churches was vehemently denied by the LCI church, which contended that they built those churches without their direct or indirect financial involvement. Okay, so you see where the story is going. My concern, though, is when we have these issues ending up in court, then, you know, a lot of dirty linen is going to come out.
It's going to come out,
and,
yeah.
It doesn't look good for the church, because then they're going to say the church is lying. And then the pastors are also saying, you know, the church is also saying the pastors are lying.
Exactly.
So if they are both lying,
yeah, it's just,
what's really happening? And Education Ministry takes steps to recover learning losses. That's Educhum. And then 3 teacher unions make demands on government. It's one of the stories that was on AM News. And you see, I add that to the Kenyase complaint. So there's this story about the people of Kenyase protesting because there's poor roads and all that. And I'm thinking, whoa, it seems a bit too early for these agitations to be starting, you know, after an election.
Yeah.
You know, typically you would expect that, you know, somewhere a little later on in the, you know, couple of years after. But yeah, it's pretty early.
But then again, it is the NPP's second term. So, I mean, you kind of feel like they're agitating because they feel like the government has already had 4 years and they didn't do it, you know, and then, okay, there's another 4 years. So if we don't start, you know, they say, it starts from the morning.
And I would actually want to think that and believe that it's probably high time we stopped looking at, making some unrealistic promises.
Yeah.
During elections. And also, as the citizens, we should also be mindful of some of the promises that the politicians make to us. I mean, they'll make all the
we can't
promises.
just believe everything.
We can't believe everything. We can't believe it. When they tell us they're going to do this and do that, I mean, reality hits, and then...
It's like when a boy is rapping you, you should be able to tell that, nah, fam, this is lies. Yeah.
All right, Health Minister takes annual leave, and that story too covered extensively on JoyNews. Well, he's taking his leave. So there were these rumors that he had resigned, but we checked, and it turns out that he's taking his leave.
2 weeks, I think, right?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
It's just the timing, though, that's all, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of heat, so he needs time to just cool off. You know, otherwise, you can make him even more confused.
That's true.
Thank you. And draft starter bill goes through validation. Then building contractors pursue build right campaign. And let me just move on to the other. Be vigilant to check fertilizer smuggling, which is one other story. We're going to be looking at the fertilizer shortage. The regional minister is urging the people, the Upper East Regional Minister is urging the residents to be vigilant to check fertilizer smuggling. Even though there are those who are saying that there's no fertilizer for people to even smuggle. And it's worrying. All right, so Justice Mafosa passes away. I read a bit of it. The Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Samuel K. Mafosa, has passed away. Multiple sources revealed to the Daily Graphic that the 64-year-old Supreme Court judge died yesterday at the GNAT East Hospital. Justice Mafosa was one of the 7 justices of the Apex Court who heard the 2020 election petition filed by former President John Dramani Mahama to challenge the validity of the election of President Akufo-Addo. May his soul rest in perfect peace. And Ghana must invest in least disciplines. That's Nunu Mensah, the president of the Ghana Olympic Committee. And he was saying this when the Olympic torch touched down in Accra. And process ongoing to amend Rent Act. That's the housing minister. It's on the back page of the Daily Graphic. He says it has become obvious that the very old Rent Act has virtually outlived its usefulness. So the housing minister met with some landlords at rent control, and he made it clear that he appreciates the fact that it's probably high time we amended the Rent Act. And these are some of the concerns that the people have. People's perceptions of the rent control department have been very dependent on whether one is a tenant or a landlord. A landlady, Miss Catherine Osei-Fojo, referred to the rent control department as tenant control because it only favored tenants, and said the landlord control department had become necessary.
Oh, wow.
Landlord control department.
That's interesting.
It says this place, by its name, rent control, always gives tenants priority to the extent that landlords have no say. Once a tenant lodges a complaint against you, she complained. A tenant, Mr. Richard Denani, also asked for a regulation to prevent landlords from increasing rent after the expiration of every tenancy agreement. But the minister says that he appreciates that, look, yes, we need to be mindful or take care of the concerns of the tenants, but we also have to consider the fact that the housing shortage and the landlords are also investing in these buildings, and they need to get their money's worth. All right, so I've taken quite a bit of time.
You've talked a lot, Pa, this morning. I was just going to say that. I'm just looking at you and I'm like, wow, Israel. Okay, well, you're going on a break now. Yes. Let me do the Ghanaian Times. Oh, gosh. Okay, starting when now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. The front page of the Ghanaian Times. 1D1F program, President inaugurates $16 million tomato processing factory. Tomato, depending. GNAT, 2 other unions press government to tackle challenges affecting teaching, learning by September 30th. Government poised to review Rent Act. So we've talked about all these stories. Efforts to stop financial infractions will name shame defaulters who fail to adhere to public financial management. That's according to the IAA. Some stories inside the Ghanaian Times. Court slaps Samjay Hospital with 326,000 cedi fine over medical negligence. So apparently there was an issue with a baby that was a little bit big, and in the process of the birth, the child suffered some issues and their arm is paralyzed. And court has fined Samjay Hospital for medical negligence. Acting IGP leads delegation to sympathize with family of late Chief Inspector. And 3 suspected robbers and 2 accomplices. Well, 3 have been killed. 3 suspected robbers have been killed, and 2 accomplices have been arrested by the police. Okay, so the TUC also is urging government to suspend deregulation of fuel prices. That's on page 4 of the Ghanaian Times. Then, of course, in the news for the past couple of days, Ebola-like Marburg virus found in Guinea. So this virus apparently is very similar to Ebola, and it's been found in Guinea. It's a virus that has been quiet for a long time. In 2005, Angola had some major cases, but it's been pretty dormant. It's reared its head in Guinea, and the symptoms are quite Ebola-like, and there is no cure for this virus as well, apart from, of course, treating symptoms. So we're hearing a lot of viruses that have no cure. I think that's pretty normal with viruses. This is gotten from the food bat. So, gosh, our thoughts go out to Guinea. They've had a pretty hard time with some of these viruses. South Africa court postpones Zuma corruption trial to September. And a Chinese a Canadian actually has lost his appeal against the China death penalty. So he was sentenced to 15 years in 2019, but an appeal court said it was too lenient. And what he did was he tried to smuggle drugs. So he is facing the death penalty in China now. Also, this story, which bothers me for so many different reasons. We face extinction, and this story is about countries that are very low-lying and has to do with climate change. So if we get that 1.5 degrees Celsius change that experts are expecting over the next few years, some of these countries will basically go underwater because sea levels will rise. And one of the countries that is most likely to do that if that happens is the Maldives. And the Maldives is by far one of the most beautiful places on earth.
Haven't been there, you have?
No, I haven't. But
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever happens, I need to go before anything. But it can't exactly.
Okay,
but
my 2 minutes break is up. But
yeah, clearly I noticed. But clearly, I mean, this kind of makes climate change very real when you imagine that countries like the Maldives and other really beautiful places could basically just go underwater in the next few years if we don't, slow down our carbon emissions and other things that cause climate change. Prince Andrew accuser files civil case in the U.S. And then a few more stories. Younger generation urged to fulfill the dreams of Nkrumah, Kaunda, Nyerere, and other African greats. This is Pastor Minister Autabil speaking at Greater Works. Sustainable solution needed to curb youth unemployment. Yes, definitely. Okay, let me move on to the center spread of the Ghanaian Times. That story will name shame defaulters. Okay, so the Ghanaian Times on the front page is saying that President inaugurates 60 million tomato processing. In the middle page, it's saying President inaugurates $1 billion tomato processing factory at Donfete. Not sure what the discrepancy is there. NAT's 2 other unions press government to tackle. Okay, I've already done that. Oh, okay, sprinkling. God, my heart's caught. GSMA, so the Ghana South Municipal Assembly, is banning the sprinkling of pipili during Homowo. In English, from. So it's just the sprinkling. I saw the banning and pipili, and I was like, oh my God, because we love it, don't we? With the palm nut soup. But they're banning it, and I'll tell you why. Okay, he said that there have been a few issues. The situation is quite volatile. There's constant conflicts about who has the right to perform the right. So rights to perform the right ahead of the Homowo Festival celebration. So just to make matters simple, no sprinkling. And we do love our festivals, don't we? So pretty important there. 73,000 NABCO beneficiaries to join state agencies, departments, according to President Akufo-Addo. Use maternity leave to express enough breast milk to feed your babies. Yeah, we do know that breast milk is pretty fantastic when it comes to our babies. Work hard to attract investment and increase revenue. Oil prices rise as market shrugs of virus impact. And coffee prices jump to 7-year high. I hope that's not going to affect my cup of coffee in the morning. It's already pretty high if you want really good coffee. Pay about 18 to 23 cedis for a cup of coffee, depending on the size that you want. And obviously, I'm not talking about instant coffee, properly brewed coffee. But the prices have jumped up. Hopefully, won't affect us too much. Messi agrees to 2-year PSG move. He's expected to complete the move today. So he arrived in Paris yesterday, wearing an I Love Paris, or This is Paris t-shirt, with his father, Jorge, and his wife. And when his father was asked if he was going to accept the deal, he said yes, he will. Why did he leave Barca? The answer was, go and ask that club. So you can tell that there's a bit of pain there. Messi will be taking home £1 million, I think, or $1 million.
£1 million.
No, it's actually it's £1 million a week.
Really?
Yes, that's what the Daily Guide is saying. I remember because I read this story. So PSG introduces Messi today after signing £1 million pounds. No, pound is heavier than dollar.
£1 million?
Pounds.
That's too much. That's too much.
$1 million pounds is your money. £1 million a week.
That's a bit obscene, I think.
Yeah, it's messy. Anyways, so he was sad, but I mean, you can't really be sad if you are going to earn £1 million a week or a week.
Okay, all right.
We should just quit our jobs and just, Charlie.
Okay, so let's go to the Finder, on the front page of the Finder, and about the confusion about the value of the tomato factory.
60 million one.
It's 60 million, yeah.
Yeah.
On the Finder.
So I don't know where they got the 1 billion.
On the Daily Graphic, the Daily Graphic as well. So, yeah, and the MPP Constituency Annual Delegates Conference to be held in groups of 250 And then ACA AGM deal will saddle GNPC with overpriced assets. That's Dr. Theo Champong. Minister's mask mandate not being enforced, talking about the COVID-19 mask mandate. And GNPC buying stake in SDWT AGM block is a bad deal. That's Kojo Poku. And just something that I need to draw attention to in the Finder. So there's this offer, an advert. It's been in the Finder for a while. I've seen it a couple of times. Now, it's saying that there's an offer. And the offer is ending on the 31st of June. But it's still in the paper. I think they need to take another look at it.
Yes. It's 6:57, so should we move to an online review? But whilst we are waiting to do online, let me just quickly cover the front page stories of the Daily Guide. NDC stops anti-Mahama campaign. Ameri Sheikh to refund $2.8 million for Sputnik vaccine. And this one is interesting. Prepare your successor to break the 8. And of course, they're talking about this 8-year thing that we seem to have with our government. So, you win a second term, but a third term is not
guaranteed.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed.
That's not happening, actually. It hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened yet. So the paramount chief of Techiman traditional areas urging Akufo-Addo to lay solid foundation for a remarkable transition from his leadership to his successor. So that should be interesting. That's the Daily Guide pretty much. Some sports, Inter fans slam Lukaku, and GPL returns on the October the 29th.
Right, and the Daily Dispatch says NDC proposes new electoral reforms with justification. Supreme Court judge passes on. I work to pay my school fees at age 13. That's Father Campbell, Andrew Campbell. The COVID-19 vaccine supplier agrees to refund over $2 million for non-supplied vaccines. On the back page, son of late John Atamil's marries. Oh, congratulations. And yeah, so that'll be it. And then quickly, the Business and Financial Times. Oh, you were singing.
No, it's fine. I was just...
No, if you're singing.
Oh, no, I was happy about his...
And...
No, Israel, let's do the... Oh, God.
Why did you go ahead? All right, let's go online.
Okay, yes. So my Joy Online this morning, Health Minister Kweku Agyeman-Manu has taken a 2-week leave. That's from the presidency. EC chair must be appointed with prior parliamentary approval. NDC proposes. Supreme Court Judge Justice Samuel Mafusau passes on. Ken Ofori-Atta is chief culprit in Sputnik V vaccine saga. He must resign. That's according to Sami Jainfi. 20 million Ghanaians to be vaccinated against COVID-19 before 2021 ends. That's Akufo-Addo speaking. Bonny East region loses 10 lives to COVID-19 in July. Remember, we had a conversation with them. Bonny East has become one of the hot spots, unfortunately. A ministry working alongside security to halt fertilizer smuggling. That's going to Deputy Agric Minister. UTAG cannot honor National Labour Commission's invitation until court process ends. And I think that's pretty much it for my Joy Online.
But I'll go to the top story.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
Sheikh Al Maktoum refunding monies for Sputnik vaccines doesn't exonerate health minister.
That's according to Martin Baby. Oh, this health minister who's on leave. Hopefully he's watching us. If you are, good morning to you. Hope you're enjoying your time off work. But yes, this is the AM show. My name is Anima. I'm doing this with Israel. And we're here until 9 a.m. Coming up after this break is the sports. And of course, the show continues right after that.
Talking about the health minister, why don't we play a song for him since he's enjoying his leave?
Are you going to suggest a song at this point?
Okay, we'll figure that out after sports.
We'll figure that out after sports. Don't go anywhere.
When Team Ghana left the shores of the country to participate in the just-ended Tokyo Olympic Games because we had gone 29 years without any single medal, according to the president of the Ghana Olympic Committee, Ghanaians were pessimistic that they had what it takes to win a medal. We'll also be talking about Lukaku's move to Chelsea, where Chelsea manager Thomas Tuchel is tight-lipped, insisting that he is not in the right place to announce any new arrivals because he's got confidence in his current team. We also hear from former France international Dese Masaili, who has been speaking about the initiatives put together by the Ghana Football Association. According to him, the GFA is doing the right things, but they must work extra harder if they want the corporate world and the Ghanaian football community to patronize their products. I am Muftau Nabila Ablai, and this is AM Sports on the AM show. Yesterday, Team Ghana arrived from the Tokyo Olympic Games, and President of the Ghana Olympics Committee, Ben Nunu-Mensah, says some Ghanaians were pessimistic about the Team Ghana's chances of winning medals at the Tokyo Olympics. Speaking to the media after the team's arrival, he said they defied the odds, a testimony that with the right investment, a tone has been set for better days ahead.
I want to thank all of you for coming out to your numbers to welcome us. It's very overwhelming. I'm sure when we set out to go to Tokyo, many of Ghanaians didn't have the belief that the 29-year-old James could be broken. But today it's been broken. And it's through the hard work of these individual athletes. These individual athletes worked their backs off, and today they've redeemed the image of Ghana at the Olympics. And we should be very grateful to them. What these young boys and girls did is taking us 29 years to do it. There were so many firsts that we scored in Tokyo. It was the first time in 29 years that we've ever won a medal. It was the first time in almost 50 years that boxing has won a medal at the Olympics. It was the first time that our flag was raised at the Olympics. And it was ever the first ever time that a Ghanaian was selected to join the IOC president as he closed the Olympic ceremonies. It was the first time somebody, a Ghanaian athlete, stood side by side with the IOC president. It was also the first time in 25 years that our 4x100 quartet qualified for the finals of the Olympics. And for me, I think that was the biggest achievement that we've had. I thank all of you, especially the father of the nation, His Excellency, the president, our minister, who was with there, who was that in Tokyo briefly, and I had to leave because of other commitments here. You, the media, friends of Ghana Sports, and everybody who has been praying and wishing the team well. Your prayers have been answered, and today we are home triumphant. We hope you keep faith with the GOC, you keep faith with Ghana Sports, and let us build on this record achievement that Ghana has.
Now let's talk about the Ghana Premier League, and Accra Hearts of Oak. They will start their title defense on the weekend of October 29. According to the Ghana Football Association, they say that the Executive Council has approved the new plans for the new football season to commence in October.
The process towards the kickoff of the new season begins with the opening of registration window of players and officials on Monday, 9th August 2021, which will close on Saturday, October 9th, 2021. Champions Accra Hearts of Oak SC will defend the title as the competition welcomes 3 new promoted sides: Real Tamale United FC, BBN Gold Stars SC, and Accra Lions FC to the top flight. The Premier League will run until Sunday, June 19, 2022, as the association takes steps to realign its football calendar after the disruptions caused by COVID-19. The Women's Premier League will start on Friday, December 10, 2021, and end on Sunday, May 29, 2022, followed by the Women's FA Cup final on Sunday, June 5, 2022. Whilst the Division 1 League will start on November 12, 2021, and end on Sunday, June 12, 2022. As usual, the MTN FA Cup final will close the season on Sunday, June 25, 2022. As stipulated by the GFA statutes, the association will go to its annual congress before the kickoff of the competitions.
And the calls for the Ghana Premier League to be made autonomous will start in 2022-2023. Now let's hear from the board chairman of Accra Hearts of Oak, Togbe Afede, who has promised the players a package for winning the Ghana Premier League and the MTN FA Cup. But before we hear from Togbe Afede, we hear from Dr. Nyao Tamaklo, who has told the players that they are in a team with a powerful spirit and this club will never disappoint them.
I would like you to know that you are in a club that is a very strong club. 110 years of an existence of a club is not a joke, particularly in Africa. Football started years ago in this country. In Accra here, we used to have clubs. Some of them are no more. Few that I can remember: Argonauts, Red Lions, Stand Fast. These are all clubs that have fallen by the wayside. But Hearts of Folk is still surviving. All I will say is that I want you to be proud of this club, because this club will never fail you. Hearts of Folk will never, ever fail you. Now, when I saw you marching on the field on Sunday evening around 5:15, I saw the spirit in you. And I told myself, as I've said time and again, that we are going to add the FA Cup to the League Cup, and we did it. When you started the penalty kicks, I was with my niece in the house. And after the goalkeeper has done his, and the last person was about to kick, the other goalkeeper, I told my niece, watch, this ball will fly over the bar. And it did. Hearts is a very strong club. It's a very strong club. You have a very powerful spirit behind you. That is what others don't have. And when you are sincere and genuine to the club will never fail you.
All right, so you're welcome back to the AM show. Well, you're still on the AM show, and that's that conversation about pots, very, very interesting. Okay, but we're moving on to another conversation, which has to do with bird flu.
Yes.
And we have in the studio, we've been joined in the studio by Dr. Bashiru Boy Kikimoto. He's a head National Food Safety Laboratory for Animal Health. And it's a very famous person. I'm sure the Kikimoto will ring some bells. Thank you very much for joining us, and you're welcome to our studio.
Thank you very much, Israeli. It's nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too. We've spoken on phone lots of times with this.
I think no, we've actually spoken on phone several times since I came to your studio. But the first time I actually spoke to you was during the first avian influenza outbreak.
Okay.
And you wanted to break the news first.
Yes. 28th April.
28th April.
2007.
2007.
At 12 o'clock.
At 12 o'clock.
Yes.
Live.
Midday. Indeed.
And I spoke to you.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I mean, I don't quite, I mean, I remember speaking with you.
Yes.
But I didn't remember, I mean, I couldn't tell the exact date.
I mean, it's kind of hard to differentiate at this point who the superstar is, you know. Is it Dr. Kikimoto or is it you? I mean, because...
It's
Dr. Kikimoto. Okay. Anyway, we're having a conversation about bird flu. You know, there's been an outbreak in recent times, and we're still dealing with it.
Yeah.
But we're having it impact on the poultry farmers.
Yes, sir.
And so we're having this conversation. They're saying that it's resulted, or it's compelling them to increase the price of their eggs. But let's first get an understanding when this outbreak happened, and then we get into the conversation and why it's impacting on them so badly.
Yeah, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity once again. My lovely station.
Thank
you.
JoyNews.
The issue is that, you know, avian influenza, by the name, the one we are dealing with, the highly pathogenic one.
Yeah.
And it actually kills a lot of birds. And don't forget that, quite apart from this disease, before the avian influenza outbreak, poultry farmers in Ghana were already going through some challenges in relation to feed, maize, soybean, and other things like wheat bran, you know, concentrates. So already they were under stress. Now that the avian influenza has come, I think it has doubled their stress. But for me as a vet, I'm more concerned with the disease.
Yeah.
First, there was this outbreak in Greater Accra, and the number of farms were few, just about 4. And we had one in Volta region, one in Central region. And when I came to your studio, I said that the veterinary services of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture was putting in all the necessary measures, biosecurity measures, communication measures, epidemiological measures, laboratory investigative measures to make sure that the disease doesn't spread to other parts of the country like Ashanti and Brongahafo. Unfortunately, we had the outbreak also in Ashanti region, but also on one farm. And the number of farms in Greater Accra is alarming. That is because they moved from 4 to 7 to 14 and now 21. And those in Central also moved from 1 to 4. I think currently about 4 or 5.
Is it the case, you talk about you putting in place the measures to curb the spread. Is it the case that the measures didn't work?
No, you know, I think that as I came here the first time, you know, I was telling you about human behavior. And I think people even took me on that. I said, my worry is that sometimes some nefarious things happen in the evening that you may not be aware. So by the time that the vet will come, some of the birds may be out or something. Because this disease doesn't just move by itself. It has to be carried by a bird, a sick bird. Either it is the wild one or domestic one or any commercial bird, but it has to be carried by the sick bird or wild or domestic. It could also be carried by human beings who carry the products from one infected farm to another farm with the intention that maybe vet should not come and destroy, because by the Public Health Act 855, by the, I think chapter 1 or something, communicable diseases, it is the duty of us to make sure the disease does not spread, so we have to destroy.
Yeah.
And then with the Animal Disease Act of 1961, Act 83, we have the right to destroy. That is what we have to do.
But just destroy or destroy and compensate?
No, as for the compensation, it is not the duty of veterinary to do that, because we work under a ministry. So when I come, I leave that one out for the policy people. So the issue is that the number of farms have really shot up, which is strange. So I think I'll use your medium also to appeal to the Poultry Farmers Association to talk to their members. We have started having discussions with them. I mean, veterinary services, the Ministry of Agriculture. We are communicating with them. We have meetings with them. They're also having their own meetings, sensitizing their colleagues on the putting on biosecurity measures and making sure that they don't move poultry and poultry products from infected areas to non-infected areas. They're also doing their best. But I think maybe it's not yielding the results that we want, considering the number of shortage of veterinary staff we have in Ghana.
All right.
It is also another problem. And the other issue is also logistics, to move around, to corners, to make sure you're able to comb every area for what we call active surveillance. That is actively searching for the disease.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of factors that could have contributed. I'm only postulating. But the real factors could be there. Why the numbers continue increasing and not in one place, in different places at the same time, within 1 month, 32 days since the first outbreak was diagnosed on the 9th of July.
All right.
Yes.
And so now where are we? We started in the Greater Accra, a few farms in the Greater Accra region.
Yeah.
You said it's moved to the Ashanti, it's moved to Central region, Poultry region as well.
Yeah. So these are the areas so far.
Just these 4?
Just these 4. Just these 4. That is why the rest of the 12 regions in Ghana have been put on alert by the veterinary services. So all the regional veterinary officers are put on alert now. They are involving their local media stations, communicating with the poultry farmers and the public as general. So Upper West, Brongahafo, and all that. I've seen some of their clips, even Ashanti region. After the outbreak, the regional boss came out to give a lot of media briefings. So I think things are going on well.
All right, but what are they supposed to do? If they're supposed to be on the lookout and report if they identify they see any indications? What are the indicators?
Yeah, normally, you know, during this outbreak, it is not only the vet who will be on the lookout, even the poultry farmers themselves too.
Yes.
So if they observe any abnormal deaths, which is not what they expect, you know, those that bring massive deaths could also be food poisoning. But it is avian influenza now, which we are dealing with. So when they observe those massive deaths, by all means, they need to alert the vet. And then also they need to increase their biosecurity. I know some big poultry farms, they currently, because of the problems of 2007, 2015, 2016, 2018, and now 2001, they have actually improved their biosecurity measures.
All right.
I think what we are observing now, if you look at the total numbers of birds which are dying, the farms affected, I think the highest I've seen so far may be just around 13,000, slightly over 13,000 birds, which if you compare Israeli, the time that you wanted to break the news in 2007, even the highest farm, which were Delaware farms in Pong, had over 47,000 birds. This year, this outbreak alone, we have lost 41,123 birds within 1 month. So which means that compared to 2007, it is just half of one farm. Yes, so which means that the poultry production level in Greater Accra is not anything to write home about. So we don't actually want the disease also to compound with the feed to bring down the poultry industry. It is one of the most well-organized, developed animal production systems currently we have in Ghana. Okay. And I'm also very happy and proud of the National Poultry Farmers Association, because most of them are very, very, very well educated. And that is my happiness. You know, when you are dealing with somebody who knows what the business is about, you are halfway through the problem that you want to solve.
Yeah.
But then I think the other challenge, which you're saying that, well, it doesn't lie with you, which is the compensation. If they're not being compensated, there's no motivation for them to want to report. They would want to find ways of handling these things themselves. We will not be we will not go too well.
Yeah, that would be very unfortunate. But from what I heard, I think I overheard it. I was not part of it. I was also involved in other sort of meetings. But I overheard that the deputy minister went to Central Region with the director of veterinary services, and I heard he was muting something like that. But because I have not gotten a clear picture about it, that's why I don't want to make comments about it. But I think that I overheard something like that. But you know, I don't have to just say I overheard. That is because it is something that as a vet, you cannot talk about compensation because it's normally a policy issue.
Yeah. Okay. So, you know, let's talk about the farmers for a second who are going to have to report that these things are happening. Like Israel said, if there's no compensation, it may become difficult for them to call you and say, oh, this is what's happening on my farm. So just to clarify for us, when you get to a farm and there are, you know, some birds that have been exposed to this disease, what's the protocol? Is it shutting down the whole farm? Is it killing all the birds? I mean, what do you do? And is there a way to manage the cases so that, you know, the hit back is not too much?
Yeah, no, the only issue is that this is a disease that, by the nature of the virus, there's no other alternative apart from doing what I want to list to you. First, we make sure the farm is closed down. The workers all are examined by medical staff, and then the farm is closed. Then, after that, we make sure we disinfect all the crews and the people and let them go.
Okay.
Now, the next thing is to make sure we, some birds have died naturally anyway, but now the remaining ones, by the Animal Disease Act 61, 83, we have to depopulate. So we now carry on the depopulation, and there are different methods we use, either through cervical dislocation or gas or foam. So once we kill them, I don't want to use kill them, we kill them.
That is all the birds
we don't,
on the farm.
Even plus the eggs, everything, we have to make sure everything is buried.
Wow.
That is because the disease is very, very serious disease, and we don't want it to spread to other places.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is how we do it, and then we disinfect the farm, and then make sure we close it down. We close them down for maybe more than some 2 months, and then observe the situation, disinfect again, and make sure that the next time we want to populate the farm, we bring sentinel fowls there and test and see before we now allow them to continue again. That's how the process is.
It sounds very, very serious, because it really does mean that if a bird gets infected on your farm, it's basically the shutdown of your business.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yes.
So that is why the farmers themselves have taken upon themselves to improve their biosecurity and make sure that the in and out flow into the farm is controlled.
Right.
Because if you always sell your eggs, you know they sell the eggs, and they sell inside the farm, it's risky.
Okay.
You should always sell the eggs outside the farm.
Outside of the farm.
Yeah, outside the farm.
Okay, Israel.
All right, so we have president of the Poultry Farmers Association of Ghana, Victor Pong, joining us via Zoom right now. Thank you very much, Mr. Pong, for joining us. So we've heard about the challenges you're facing as a result of the bird flu. We want to know, apparently, you're having to increase the prices of eggs. Please explain to us what the challenges are and then why it's impacting you so much.
Thank you very much. Let me greet the cherished listeners of JoyNews. At the moment, our main challenge has been the feed, basically the maize, soya, and the wheat bran, which has been a big challenge. Last year, we were buying 50 kilo weight of maize at 65 Ghana cedis. And as we speak now, the same weight, we are buying it at 150 Ghana cedis, which is more than 100% increase. Soya, which was about 140 Ghana cedis per 50 kilo weight, is now 210 Ghana cedis by the same weight. And wheat bran, which was about 15 to 20 cedis per 25 kilo weight, is now 45 Ghana cedis. So you can see that the basic or the main ingredients of the feed have increased over 100%. That was the reason why we decided to adjust the price of eggs. But let me say that for the past 3 years, a single egg is sold at 1 cedi. So a tray of egg is about 30 Ghana cedis. So even if we are using the past year's price of egg tray as a basis, you could see that if egg is sold at 22 cedis per tray, we still have a difference of 8 cedis between the farm gate and the final consumer. But we all know that egg tray, the profit margin is between 1 cedi and 2 cedis. So even if we have increased the prices by that margin, I don't think it will affect the final consumer. But as we speak now, 1 egg is sold at 1 cedi 20 pesos, some 1 cedi 50 pesos, which comes to 36 cedis and 45 cedis. So I don't think it's a border if we also try to adjust our egg prices because of the increase of feed, which has gone up over 100%.
All right, but how about the bird flu situation? How is that affecting your operations?
Well, as for the bird flu, we are not having much challenge about it because you agree with me that this is not the first time we are experiencing outbreak of bird flu in the country. It started in 2007. That was where the panic was very great. But because of the effort of veterinary services, NADMO, Fire Service, and the Ghana National Association of Poultry Farmers, we were able to contain the disease in 2007. Subsequently, in 2015, 16, 18, we did the same thing. So as we speak now, 4 regions.
Right, it appears we may have lost Victor Opon there, the president of the Poultry Farmers Association of Ghana. So clearly from Dr. Kikimoto, from what he's saying, the bird flu really hasn't affected them that much.
No, it's exactly what I started my premise with. That before the outbreak, they were actually having challenges with the feed.
Right.
But I see the bird flu too, one of the things you have to understand is that since the outbreak of avian influenza in 2007, the first one, it really had the most effective impact in the poultry industry, especially in Greater Accra. Because if you look at all the big farms, Delaware farms, the top farms at Ajekojo, Kakasinaka number 1, Kakasinaka number 2, Aqua farms, Sada farms, all the big farms, that was the time they had the impact. And that brought about the total reduction of poultry farms in. That's why even I told you that the total number of birds that have died so far, it does not even amount to the number of birds on one farm that as compared to that time. And so the poultry industry is having a downward trend in a way so far as Greater Accra is concerned. Yes.
All right. And plus, okay, so we have Mr. Opon back on the line. So you were making the point about the bird flu situation.
Yes. Yes. As I said, the experience that we had from 2007 to 2018, it has given experience to the veterinary service to avert the spread of the disease. So far, 4 regions that have been affected since July, that we had the first one in Greater Accra, it has not spread further. And I'm giving credit to the veterinary and even the 2 deputy ministers of food and agriculture. They are always with the team to inspect and also to advise farmers. You know, since this bird flu came, we've done a lot of sensitization to the poultry farmers that they should intensify their biosecurity. When we talk of biosecurity, we are talking of life and protection. So we've asked them to intensify it, especially the vehicles that are coming to the farms, that every farmer should have a vehicular bath so that water and disinfectant will be put in it, and all cars coming to the farms have to pass through the vehicular bath. And also, we've advised them to have foot bath, that anyone coming to the farm should step in before he enters the place. We've also asked them not to litter around with the carcass, dead birds, because that will invite the migrating birds, which are the carriers of the virus. That if you litter around the carcass, the migrating birds will come down to feed on it, and their droppings will leave you with the virus. So we are doing a lot of sensitization to the farmers in order not to prevent the spread. And we also ask them to report every dead bird and sick bird to the veterinary services. We know that definitely there's arrangement to pay compensation to the farmers. So with this, farmers are reporting dead birds and sick birds to the veterinary services to come there and do diagnosis. If they realize that it's a bird flu, then automatically the whole bird should be depopulated.
Now,
and if it is not bird flu,
Mr. Opon, you talk about the compensation. Do you get the impression that the compensation is forthcoming?
Yes.
Right, Mr. Opon is still having challenges with the line. I'm sure the line will be back, but yeah, they seem to be quite happy with what's going on so far. And okay, so I think we have him back. Mr. Opon, so yes, I was asking the question, is there compensation forthcoming to your members?
Yes, we've already discussed it with the deputy minister, and they've given assurance that because it was paid the other time, now they are also going to pay. And this is this thing, and an encouragement to the farmers, because if I know that if my birds are depopulated, I will be giving compensation. I will not hide any dead bird or sick bird from the authorities. So we know once they've given it assurance, compensation will be paid to the farmers.
All right, that's great. So let's talk about the feeding. How do we address the feeding challenges as well?
Well, we've had a lot of discussions with the ministry. It started when we realized that the neighboring countries are purchasing our maize outside to their various countries. And we thought that there would be a block, but we allowed them to buy all the maize from this country. It's not like the maize were not here. We had a lot of yield. The yield has increased because of the planting for food and jobs. But we allowed the neighboring countries to buy the maize, and we intend suffer. And later we have to import maize. And you know, the world market price of maize continues to go up. So that is how it is affecting the poultry industry. As we speak now, people are trying to bring maize from Cote d'Ivoire and other places, but still prices are very, very, very high. And that's how it's affecting the industry. Except that the wheat brand is produced locally, but still sometimes you not even get the local one we have to import. And that one too, we had a meeting with them, with the minister, and he has given us the assurance that the local producers should look at the local farms before exporting. I understand they are also exporting to various countries. So that is how the poultry industry is suffering. Because if the feed cost goes up, it affects everything in the industry, because maize takes about 50 to 60% of the feed input. Soya takes about 15 to 20%. Then the remaining will be the wheat bran and other small things. So the moment the prices of maize goes up, it affects everything. And that is how the industry is suffering. And I can say that it's not only suffering, but it is on the verge of collapse. The poultry is on the verge of collapse. People are selling their birds prematurely. And it's about time that an immediate intervention is done to it.
So what is the immediate intervention you would suggest? Do we simply just produce more of the maize that you need for your feed?
Yes, actually, we have to increase the yield of the local maize, because that is the only way we can get the maize at a reasonable price. If you want to rely on the imported one, definitely the prices will never come down. But because the government is subsidizing the maize here, especially the breed and the fertilizer, it brings the prices down for us. So we are pleading with the government that I understand now they are not even getting fertilizer, which is also a challenge. So the government should try as much as possible to get the fertilizer to the farmers so that they can also use to produce the maize for the local industry.
Now, you talk about the poultry industry on the verge of collapse, but I know the huge farmers, those who are producing on a large scale and those who are also producing on a small scale. They both complain, are both groups complaining, or it's just the small ones?
Yes, everybody's complaining, because if you are buying maize 65 cedis and now you are buying it 150 cedis, meanwhile your end product, you cannot increase it. It's a border. It's a great challenge to the industry. So now the feed cost has increased over 100%. Meanwhile, prices of eggs still remain the same, because if we make any attempt to increase the price, the public will say, no, it's expensive and we are not going to buy. So it's a challenge. If we are able to increase the prices of eggs, that will be okay for us. But now it's a challenge. You cannot increase your price. Meanwhile, your input prices are going up.
All right, we would not want the prices of eggs to go up. So please, you keep it that way, whilst we ask government to do what it can to ensure that you get the feed that you need so that you can keep the prices at that level. But one of the things having heard you complain about is the fact that people are not buying, poultry products because of the bird flu outbreak. which is reassuring. Is that actually the fact?
No, people are buying the products.
All right.
Because we know that an affected bird with bird flu virus cannot even lay egg. And we know that the bird becomes so weak that you cannot even send it to the market. So with this assurance, people know that eggs that they are buying are very healthy and the chicken at the market are very healthy because an affected bird flu bird, the eggs become so soft. That they cannot even lay. And the birds become so weak that you will not even like to touch it. You, the farmer yourself, you not even like to touch it. So the birds at the market now, you see them jumping, you see them eating, they are very active. It means they don't have any diseases. So we've been giving this assurance to the public that the farmers will not send any dead bird or any sick bird to the market. And every egg that comes to the market, we know that they are very healthy because it's healthy birds that lay the eggs.
All right, that's quite reassuring, Enimwa, to know that we have people have confidence in the industry that they can continue to enjoy their poultry products and don't have anything to worry about.
I think that, I mean, like he said, if you're just vigilant, you go to the market to buy chicken or, you know, something, once the bird looks healthy and is active, that's indication that it's fine. Because like he said, you know, if they're not fine, it's very, very obvious, you know. And then obviously if the eggs are soft, then they're hopefully not making it, you know, to the market. You have, you know, eggs with the shell has maintained its integrity, you know. But I think let's just be more aware when we're eating bird products and, you know, all of that, just to make sure when you break it, it looks good, doesn't smell funny. And then perhaps, and, you know, as much as this may affect poultry farmers, there's also the food chain, because, you know, a lot of us are maybe buying our chicken, you know, grilled from our favorite spot, you know, and with that one, you cannot tell the state of the bird. You know what I mean? So maybe be a little bit more vigilant with that. And of course, we're calling on everybody who is producing and selling chicken, especially the finished product, to maintain a sense of integrity. You know, don't sell your customers, you know, sick birds. You know what I mean? Let's not try and cut costs in that way, because the long-term implications of that, you know, will probably be worse than what it will cost you to just make sure that you're selling healthy, wholesome birds. So I know you're an advocate for cooking at home for yourself.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Sounds like your kind of thing.
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the situation. We have a poultry industry. The people are still patronizing their products because they're not so worried about the bird flu.
Yeah.
But yet we also have a poultry industry that's on the verge of collapse because they're complaining about the lack of feed to feed the birds. Why don't we resolve whatever challenges they are having so that at least we would have our
thriving
eggs at 1 cedi and not have to see these prices go up?
Yeah, thank you very much, Israel, for this question. You know, the issue is that governments that come and governments that are in power always do their best to support the poultry industry.
Yeah.
For example, if you look at the Planting for Food and Jobs, the aim was to make sure that they will produce a lot of maize and then produce a lot of soya. As he said, these are the main components of feed for the poultry.
Yeah.
The rest are just minor. Now, the thing worked very successfully because improved variety of seeds were provided, subsidized fertilizer, sulfate of ammonia, NPK 15-15-15 was also provided for the farmers. They were able to produce maize in this country to increase the yield in 2018 from 17.5 million tons to about 18 million tons of maize produced in this country.
Right.
So which means that they were finding a way of helping the poultry industry and also with those who eat kenke or kami. So the thing is that government is doing its best, and that is why the veterinary is also taking part of the disease aspect, so that once the bird is well and the disease is prevented, then the poultry industry can grow. So I think that government has actually put in some measures It's only this year I can see that it's raining in the northern part of Ghana, but it looks like here in Accra, I don't know whether we are because we are in the capital, it's not raining.
Okay.
But I think that things will improve as time goes on.
I was just going to ask you that what is the cause of this shortage? What's causing the shortage?
The shortage, as he has explained, Mr. Opon has explained that when we had the GNAT, due to the Plan for Food and Jobs, it was so much in the market, and the people from Burkina, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, they were rather coming to Ghana to buy. When they bring the CFA and change to CD, it's easier to buy here.
Right.
So they came and bought our maize, and we're sitting down thinking that once we have enough, it was okay. The time we realized, then the shortage came. That was the problem.
Oh,
yes, that's the problem.
But there's also supposed to be the national food buffer stock that's supposed to, buy most of these things, the maize and the excess produce, and then keep them so that when we have times like these, where there's a shortage, they'll release it onto the market. And my understanding was that they took in quite a bit. So why don't we offload
collect some? And also maybe Israel, some sort of regulation on bulk buying, because obviously if, like you said, you're coming in with the CFA and you have a lot more money, and you're coming to buy all of and our farmers are perhaps buying it on a monthly, there should be some sort of quota, I don't know, something that ensures that we have what we need first.
It's tough to control.
It'll be tough, but is it not necessary?
The farmers have the maize, it's sitting on the farm.
And they want to sell it.
And they want to sell
I
it.
get
So whoever comes to them and wants to buy, they'll sell it to them.
Yeah, but if it continues, then we'll have this.
Yeah. So I think the way out is to have the national food buffers take up as much as they can. So that, because if they buy, in times like this when we're having a shortage, then they can offload it onto the market. But well, Mr. Opon, so we've been talking about some recommendations, some ways we think that we can resolve this. What are your recommendations to government? What would you want government to do? I'm yet to get to understand what you expect of them, and not just about, because in this case, the lack or the shortage of the maize affects you as well. So your concern goes beyond just the feeding.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lai. I think we have to do something about the export of the maize. Recently there has been a committee on soybean by the Trade Ministry that they are going to regulate the export of soya. That is also a challenge in the country because most people assume that our soybean is an organic one, so they prefer buying ours to export it so that we in turn go and buy the GMO into this country. So the ministry has come out with a regulation and they've set a soya permit committee who are going to regulate the soya beans, the export of the soya beans. I think the same thing can be done to the maize because we should know our volumes that we will use per annum before we allow them to buy the surplus. If we know that even what we have is not enough for us, why should we allow people to come and buy them?
Now, Mr. Opon, how about the poultry farmers themselves also, having storage facilities to bulk buy the maize they'll need probably for the year, so then they don't have to worry so that in times of glut, then they can buy as much as they can and store, so they don't have to worry when there's a lean season.
Can be done, provided the buffer stock will be given enough money to buy the maize.
Exactly.
No, I'm not talking about the buffer stock. I'm talking about the poultry farmers themselves.
It's not possible. The maize that we use, the volume is so huge that you will not get that much to buy it. But at least there should be a buffer stock somewhere so that on and on you go there and buy some. Finding money to buy the whole stock for the year is a challenge. It's a big challenge. So the only thing we can do is the government to invest in buffer so that they can buy and stock them. And at times, as time goes on, we will go there to buy from buffer stock. Otherwise, it will remain the same. And we should also realize that the money that the government is subsidizing to the farmers is meant for the local farmers and not the neighboring countries. We cannot subsidize for the neighboring countries. 975 million Ghana cedis is not a small money. And if you allow them to come and buy that, it means the subsidy, they have benefited from the subsidy and not the local industry.
All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Opon. But I want to summarize the issues that you have raised. So one, you feel or you believe that we should control the export of maize as we're doing for soya. And also we should encourage the buffer stock company to taking as much of the maize as possible when there's a glut, so that when in times of shortage, they can release that onto the market, right?
Exactly.
All right, thank you very much. But I would urge you that please try as much as possible that you maintain the prices of your eggs so that we don't have to be paying more for the eggs. We love eggs.
It will all depend on the prices of maize and soya.
All right. So, yeah, we'd urge government to do something about it. But thank you very much, Mr. Opon. And we appreciate what you're doing. I'm encouraged by the fact that they've done so well, or tried so hard to maintain the prices of the eggs for so long. I mean, 3 years. Because, I mean, prices change in this country.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so rapidly,
And so if they have been able to do that, that's quite commendable.
Yeah, you know, the good thing about the poultry industry is that, you know, it's very capital intensive. And a lot of poultry farmers are suffering. But what gladdens my heart is that once they start laying and they reach a certain peak and you're able to sell the eggs and use the eggs money to buy the feed, and then you're able to break even, then you now start getting your profit from there.
All right.
And you know the best will live for about 1 year, some of them even up to 1.5, some 2. So that is where they try to make the profit. So sometimes they can afford to maintain the price for a certain level.
Yeah.
But beyond a certain level, even as the bird gets older, the laying also starts coming down.
Yeah.
So they have been doing well. In fact, I've visited very huge farms. And I just wonder how they're able to feed the birds. And you know, you have to feed them at least 2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
It is very expensive, very expensive. I sympathize with the but government has also quite recently is trying to bring in more maize to support the system. So I think that
bring in more maize as an import.
Yeah, import. Yeah, import.
That's a shame, though.
No,
If we had a glut at the point.
Yeah, you know, the glut they bought them. It's, you know, if something is there, people will go and buy.
It is what it is.
Yeah,
there's a shortage. What do we do?
And what Mr. Opon is saying, you know, the problem that we also belong to what we call WTO, the World Trade Organization. So sometimes limitations and other things sometimes are against international conventions. But we just have to manage as ECOWAS and see what we can do together as brothers and sisters. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I'm excited about the egg story and what the poultry farmers are doing. I believe they deserve all the support that they can get, them, so that they can keep our eggs.
It's interesting. Your focus is on eggs, not chicken. I mean, grilled chicken, fried chicken, chicken soup.
Because the eggs are cheap. Relatively.
Yes.
And it's very accessible. I mean, it's affordable.
And accessible. So, and it goes into everything.
Yeah, it goes into everything. It's going into salad and everything. Otherwise, you just boil the egg, and as we see being hawked around, boil the egg.
The egg and meko.
Yeah.
The thing that blew me away about eggs was going to a chop bar and discovering that people eat fufu soup and boiled eggs. I bet you haven't seen that before. Exactly. So anyways, that's it for, but just before we go, Doc, I wanted to ask you, a few years ago there was a bit of an issue with a competition between the imported chicken and local chicken, because sometimes, or I think it still exists, the imported chicken, because it's a lot and it's frozen, and some of them have been in cold rooms and storehouses for years and years and years, they're cheaper. What's that situation like now? Are farmers able to sell their live birds, the old layers, the broilers, you know, and still make a profit?
Yeah, you know, the good thing is that every Ghanaian likes the local chicken. Let me be honest with you.
The smell is different.
It is only that because of the gap of tonnage of consumption, there's a gap over 250,000 tons of meat that we have to eat.
Wow.
So far as chicken is concerned. So because of that, that's why the importation is coming in. And because of international trade, as I told you. And sometimes too, as I told you, the poultry industry is capital intensive. So some business people, instead of going to establish the farm, where maybe a disease can come and wipe off like this bird flu,
they'll just import.
They'll just go and import. So that is where the importation is going on. But I think government is doing everything in its power with the help of the Poultry Farmer Association to make sure that they increase the tonnage of production. That will satisfy the Ghanaian population.
Yeah,
because we like the local one. It's sweeter, it's better. You know, something you produce yourself in. That's why Madam was telling you that when you eat outside, you don't enjoy it. You see, it's only because we are working. Sometimes when you're hungry, you think you are enjoying it. But when you go, you eat the proper meat.
Yes.
So eat the Ghana chicken.
You keep on bringing in the issue of WTO. I don't quite get it, because if we're producing enough, we don't need to import. And if nobody is importing, we don't have a we shouldn't have a problem. Why are we compelled to import? Apart from, yes, I understand that there's a shortage, so we're importing. But if we're producing enough locally, who would want to import?
Yeah, that was why when we also produce a lot, we even though people came here to buy, we said they came and bought, but it's also a form of export to the country. So the world is like that too. You know, everybody needs each other. You
know. So yeah, but Nigeria has completely banned, as far as I know, a few years ago, the importation of chicken.
Yeah, you see, Nigeria, I don't want to go into the dynamics of their poultry farms. Because even when we had the avian influenza outbreak, the first outbreak that I told you called me to break the news.
28th April.
Yes. We had vaccines to vaccinate against avian influenza.
All right.
But knowing the nature of the virus, we know it mutates and can bring a very virulent type into our industry, includes our industry.
Okay.
But they decided to go and vaccinate, and they had more problems to the extent that they have to stop. So sometimes you don't look at another country, what it's doing, and say you can do the same thing.
Right.
Ghanaians, by our nature, you know, we are subtle, patient. Even when you are stepping on our toes, we keep quiet and say, God's time is the best. So
You're so right.
Yeah, so
Dr.
I think, we have a way we address our issues. So that is why I say let's solve everything the Ghanaian way.
Our tolerance threshold.
Yes, and I'm also happy that sometimes we take international practices, but we domesticate them to suit our culture and values and practices.
Right.
So that is one of the main things that I'm very happy to be a Ghanaian.
Yes, we can tell. We can tell. Of course,
we're all happy to.
That's and that kukobesa that makes the chicken soup, you know, what it is. But thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Boy Kikimoto. He's the head National Food Safety Laboratory for Animal Health. Thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. We're really grateful.
Thank you.
We're going to take a short break, aren't we, Israel?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
And after this, we're going to have that knowledge conversation. Do stay
Knowledge kinetics.
Yes. Do stay tuned in. All right, so you're still on the AM show, and you know there's an initiative for government agencies to use knowledge management to realize the combined benefits from strong economic and institutional regime, education, innovation, and ICT. Now, each of these knowledge economy pillars has a unique contribution in creating a knowledge-based organization or economy. And when carefully implemented as a corporate strategy or a national reform initiative program, KM will lead to economic growth and development. So the group is the Knowledge Kinetics Group. But the CEO, Dr. Edwin Champong, is also the head of the Knowledge Management Desk at the Ghana Revenue Authority. And he joins me in the studio right now to speak with us about this initiative. So thank you very much, Doc, for making time to be with us in the studio. So I've had to say a lot about, I've had to use a lot of English words, very verbose, but I want you to explain to us, what is this movement trying to get public sector agencies to be more efficient?
Thank you, Israelai, and I want to thank the Joy FM team and multimedia for the opportunity. Before I answer your question, Israel, please permit me to say hi to the organization.
Right.
The name is Knowledge Kinetics Organization,
right.
An NGO that is poised to position every Ghanaian to apply information knowledge. Number one, and number two, to facilitate Ghana's effort, Ghana's desire to become a knowledge-based economy.
All right.
Right. So thank you very much. So to your question, what is knowledge management? Well, knowledge management, if I want to be technical, has to do with all the systems.
That's not to be technical.
Or in fact, I'll come down. Maybe for those
no. We don't want the technicalities at all. Let's go straight to, so that we can get to appreciate.
Definitely. In fact, knowledge management is nothing but creating the environment so that the individual or the corporate entity, one, knows what it knows, two, knows what it doesn't know, three, makes an effort, to bridge that information knowledge gap and to connect to global knowledge resources and best practices. That is it.
Right.
So know what you know what you don't know, takes a step to bridge the gap, and then connect to global, what is happening elsewhere that we can bring in.
So take a typical organization, public sector organization, and see and explain it to us.
Right. So we have DVLA, we have the Registered General Department. Let me use the Registered General Department.
Maybe the DVLA, because a lot of us go to DVLA.
The DVLA. Right. So DVLA, does DVLA knows what it knows? So for instance...
What should they know?
That is it. So for instance, DVLA want to implement blockchain technology. Is there a way that DVLA will know that when you have somebody, a staff within DVLA setup who has this expertise?
All right.
So this is what happens. So most of the time, the institutions, public institutions, do not know what they know. So for this particular case, they will bring in an expert from the UK.
Right.
Takes so much, but we do very little, or we use even the resource within DVLA.
Okay.
That is it. But meanwhile, if there were systems in place, they would have known that, look, this guy is privately, reading something on blockchain technology. So that's an example. Okay. Knowing what you know. Okay. So we have so much expertise in the public sector, public space, that is not known to management. That is not known to the authorities. And we are spending lots and lots of money importing experts who come to use our own knowledge. It is sad.
All right.
Knowing what you know.
So how does this initiative seek to cure this problem?
That is it. So we are saying that if that is it, then we have to create the environment so that every CEO, every director general, every minister will know what they have to know. It is two-pronged. The authorities, and us, the citizens.
Right.
So for the authorities, if you are the CEO, how would you know whatever you need to know? Number one, create the systems. For instance, who comes to work? Let me use this because who comes to work late, for instance? You put a full scap. When I come late, I should write Edwin a Champon. I arrive 11 a.m. It's just like you wouldn't do that. You see? And so all the time, the attendance sheet goes that everybody came in, early on time. Yet people come in after 12. Yet it's not known. So the CEO wouldn't know. The CEO wouldn't know until something happens. Hey, so it means all this while people, about half the staff even come to work after 12.
Right.
So to bridge that, we are saying that you don't need to do much. Set up, electronic, control gate, clocking system. That is it. So it's right. You realize that what we are seeking to do is to provoke administrators of our economy to be innovative, to be creative, to think outside the box, and that is it. It's like I'm telling you, the Galamsey menace and all that, breach that is happening within the public service. If we should apply knowledge management, the president will sleep. Let me give you the Galamsey. It is topical.
All right.
Assuming the president, anytime he gets to the office, he has screens where he sees all the Galamsey sites. What will happen? Galamsey will stop. It's like, what will it take for us to establish this? Nothing. So they are screens.
Would need maybe
that is it.
Drones. Would need.
They're already there. It's like, I want to make this.
No, but they are not on the field.
What is there to deploy onto the field? Nothing. Israeli, I can say on authority.
Because if you say we're supposed to get these, if you suggest, for instance, that we're supposed to get drones, and
on Galamsey sites,
on Galamsey
capture each site,
and cameras.
Yes.
Then it comes to procurement, and you know this country and procurement. If we're going to procure,
Israeli, we have the military, dispatch to the place. Their cost alone. But you know, one drone, we can even have just one drone program. That this time you're on this site, this time, and we have the recordings. Nobody even needs to man the recordings.
There is
a gap.
There's one thing having the knowledge, and another thing deciding to apply the knowledge.
That is it. It's like you've hit right on the nail. It's like all that we are doing will be a fiasco, no matter how you believe in it. If we don't have leadership support.
So you can have this initiative going. You can gather all the knowledge that you gather, and yet at the end of the day, if they are not applying whatever knowledge you have,
it is not applying. The citizenry, the employees, the public servants, they have no choice. If my Commissioner General says that, put on tax, who am I? But if there are no systems for him to know that we don't put it on, nothing happens. So, Israeli, let me make this point. It may be controversial, but that is what it is. Okay. In fact, our constitution captures it. There is something we call discretionary power. You see, Ghana's being, having emanated from a knowledge information gap, you see, it is exploited by what I call the discretionary, the capricious exercise of discretion by leadership. You see, what we are saying, if things are happening, if there are standards, you see, the leader must comply. Example, you see, I have the client service charter for the information ministry, signed by, our honorable. Now, in there, they are saying that we shall respond to correspondence in how many days? In complaints in 2 days. That is it. So it is here. You see, but where we don't have anything like that, you write to the ministry, nobody even responds.
So it is there, but is it?
So back to the question, it is two. One, there is a gap. So most institutions, in fact, you can call the Public Service Commission and Head of Civil Service to tell you how many of our institutions, about 500, have client service charter. It is sad. The president launched what we call the National Public Sector Reform Strategy in May 2018. Please, it is sad.
Let's come back to application of this initiative that you're talking about. You mentioned the DVL a bit. You talked about the fact that if in an organization the CEO knows
what he needs to know
and what he needs to know,
that is it.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
But I still ask the question: you can know what you know, and you may decide not to apply it.
In fact, that is where discretionary comes in. Mr. Israeli, can you give me 2 reasons why the president knows that after putting this phone here, Galamsey will stop and will not do it? That is it. So you see, if leadership fails, nothing works. In fact, our concept, our proposition is based on, exquisite leadership. A leader who wants to see Ghana develop like Dubai, like the UK.
Yeah.
You see, so the leadership is not, positioning themselves to know what they need to know, or not putting the enough systems to know what they need to know to bridge, those kind of corrupt practices in the system.
Now, let's say you go to DVLA.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to implement this
like
knowledge management initiative. How will you go about it?
That is it. It's like the first thing, I want to see the registrar general, is a DVLA, so the director general down. One question, please, do you want to see DVLA, become efficient? Yes or no? When he takes the box, yes, it's right, we are done. If he's ambivalent, if he's unsure, we don't start. Because once he says yes, do you know how we start? We prepare a client service charter. You can call DVLA. They are not developing one.
Okay.
It is better late than never. So there's this client service charter developed that these are the standards. When somebody renews licenses, it takes 3 days. And then CEO calls, give me the report weekly. How many licenses were we able to deliver in 3 days? Look, things will just change. So one is leadership. Once we get leadership right in this country, Israeli, our public service will become like the UK.
But you see, we can have, how about we do away, minus this initiative that you're talking about. If we also have the leadership in place and working effectively as we expect them to work, we probably don't need this. We should still develop.
You see, the gap will still be there. Usually, let me ask you, Goroboism, is it stopped? It is not. No. You see, but can it be stopped? It can be stopped. You see, how can it be stopped? The citizenry must have the information. When I apply, it is 3 days, I get it. If I don't get it in 3 days, per their own client service charter, I need to make a report to this place and I'll be compensated. And that's it. So, first and foremost, leadership does not have a client service charter. So I go to apply for license or passport or whatever. I don't know how many days. Let me make this bold statement. Our vice president is championing digitization. It is excellent. For knowledge management, yes, it is an enabler, not an end in itself. So I can tell you, if the vice president does not incorporate knowledge management, look, it will be most of the things, in fact, it will have some impact, but most of it will be like powder on deck. Because if you don't get the systems right, you see, I sit at home and apply for my passport. Now it's time to go and collect. 2 months, 3 months, I don't get it, I'll look for a good boy. So it is not enough to apply online.
Right.
We must get the systems right by introducing knowledge management. And of course, now you know, the boss knowing what he needs to know.
And
knowing
what he doesn't know.
And what he doesn't know, and how to bridge the gap. And that is it.
All right. Thank you very much for the conversation. I mean, it's something that we can keep talking about. We can keep talking. Right. And get to practicalize it, really, because that's how we can take advantage and advance it. But thank you very much, Dr. Champong, Dr. Edwin Champong. He's CEO of the Knowledge Kinetics organization, and he has joined us to tell us about what they're doing. We'll give you all the support that we can. In fact, that's why we brought you onto the show, so you can talk about it, so people will get to subscribe to it. So I'd encourage all of you out there, and it's not just for public sector organizations, for private organizations as well. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you,
we're taking a break on the AM show. When we come back, we have Showbiz. Don't go anywhere.